Hello folks, this is Pastor Mike Hoggard coming to you from our top secret broadcasting studio here at Area 52. This is another Watchman video broadcast. We're still dealing with the Singularity. When I started researching this, I kind of delayed, I kind of put this teaching off for a while to really dig into the research, to really just kind of understand where we were going. The more that I research, the more that I just keep adding to this, because I think it is absolutely so relevant to the time that we're living in right now. It is absolutely vital and essential that people understand exactly where all of this technology is going. And I want you to remember that word technology. Have you ever asked where words come from? That's just sort of a hobby of mine. I like to see where these words, we speak English. English is a mingled language. We've got a little Latin with some Greek. We've got some little Hebrew words in there. We've got words from literally all the little French words because of the Norman invasion in England. So we have all of these different words from different parts of the world brought into English, and you ask yourself where our words come from. Where does technology come from? We're going to look at that here in a little bit. But I think it's absolutely essential that we understand where this is going. I mean, it's fun. It's fun to have our little phones. They're not just flip phones that dial and text message. They're not that anymore. Apple pretty much took over with that by bringing out the iPhone. It was revolutionary. It set a standard. Now everybody is trying to outdo one another with better technology, more fun to be had with these devices, cell phones, iPads. I mean, I go around with my iPad and my phone just about everywhere I go. A lot of it has to do with because of the work that I do. Sometimes I just want to fly an airplane or something like that. But we love our technology. Not everybody, but most people do. And it's catching on. Where is it going? And that's what we've been looking at. Two parts to the singularity. Number one, man's creation of a God that is in His image. That's where we've been dealing with. The second part, we're going to kind of transition into this. The second part of that is then fusing this God into our own bodies, making us gods, giving us immortality. We go to Revelation chapter 13. We see the false prophet rising up out of the earth. The Bible says in verse 14, He deceiveth them that dwell on the earth by means of those miracles which He had power to do in the sight of the beast, saying to them, the false prophet does not build the image. He causes the people of the earth to do it. Saying to them that dwell on the earth that they should make an image to the beast, which had the wound by a sword, and did live. And he had power to give life unto the image of the beast, that the image of the beast should both speak and cause that as many as would not worship the image of the beast should be killed. So we're looking at, number one, mankind building an image of the beast. You see that all throughout the scriptures. People building idols. They're carving out gods of wood and stone and all kinds of things, iron and brass and silver and gold. They're carving out images of a God that they would like to serve. They're making God according to their imagination and their image. This God, these idols, are lifeless. They have no ability to do anything. That's all going to change. When you talk about Marilyn Ferguson, talking about a paradigm shift for the first time in history, an image, an idol, a statue, a dead piece of stone, dead silicon, okay? That's what it is. It's little stones. That's what silicon is. A dead idol, a dead image, for the first time in history, is going to be given life. It's going to be able to think on its own and speak things. We talked about last week how speech technology with computers can in a very limited way interact with humans based upon a pre-written script of words that this thing will it'll either emit recorded sounds or synthesized sounds. That's what they do now. It's all pre-written, pre-scripted. I think we're headed to a time when the artificial intelligences, the robots, will not just be giving pre-recorded or pre-written words and thoughts. I think it's going to have life in and of itself, self-awareness, and to be able to speak to people from its own man-made heart. I know it sounds funny, but that's what this Bible says. The false prophet gives it the ability to speak and then give orders. Orders that whoever doesn't worship it will be killed. That's where we're going. That's the technology. That's where technology is going. And just because it's a hobby of mine, I like to study words. I like to find out where words come from. It's called etymology. And I have a favorite website called Etymology Online. Go there and type in a word. Type in words. When I study the Bible, I see a word I don't understand. I go to the etymology dictionary. I want to learn where it came from. I want to know what its roots are, what it really means, what it has to say. And I did that with the word technology. Now the ology part, like zoology, zoa is a Greek word which means life or living creature. Ology is the study of living creatures. So zoology is studying like animals. You go to the zoo, which is a shortened form of zoological park. You go to the zoo, you're looking at how they're studying the animals there. Typology, study of the ology of, or the study of types and shadows that are in the Bible. Theology, the study of God. Technology, what does that mean? Well, the word techna, ology means study of. The word techna in the Greek means, it's a Greek word, it means craft. How people design and build things. That's what the word techna means. It means craft. Now I want you to think of words and places in the Bible that mention craft. Daniel chapter 8, verse 25. And through his policy also he shall cause craft to prosper in his hand, and he shall magnify himself in his heart, and by peace shall destroy many. He shall also stand up against the prince of princes, I think that's Christ, but he shall be broken without hand. If we were to just kind of Daniel's, I mentioned this Pure Bible Study this week. I just recorded that. Daniel's very hard for me to understand, especially 7 through 12. The language structure is very, very difficult to understand, but there are parts that I get. He shall be broken without hand. We know that the fourth kingdom is going to be destroyed by a stone cut out without hands, and that's part of that. The Prince of Princes, I think that's Jesus Christ. He's the King of Kings and Lord of Lords. Why not the Prince of Princes? Amen. By peace shall destroy many. Because remember, Peter said they shall say peace and safety, then what? Sudden destruction. Destruction is a destroy word. He shall magnify himself. I know I'm going backwards here, but I'm getting back to this craft part. He shall magnify himself in his heart. That's what gods do. They magnify themselves. Think of what Lucifer did in Isaiah 14. I will ascend into heaven. I will exalt my throne above the stars of God. He is magnifying himself in his heart. I am God. I sit in the seat of God. He's magnifying himself. But then through his policy also shall cause craft to prosper in his hand. The Greek word of that is techna. Here's another place in the Bible. Now, those of you know, I don't I don't use Greek and Hebrew as a way of changing the Word of God. I believe my Bible is right. But it is true that our Bible, given to us, King James Bible in English, was translated from Hebrew, Aramaic in the Old Testament, Greek in the New Testament. And as a sort of a byproduct of study, the study of etymology, the study of where our words come from, the Greek word techna happens to be in the New Testament of the King James Bible, and you're going to see how it was used and what it says. Get ready, because remember, Revelation 13, they're going to build an idol. Think of a story. Let's see, Daniel, Nebuchadnezzar's image, Daniel chapter 3. Think of some place in the New Testament where some people got really, really angry with the Apostle Paul because he was preaching the real God is not made with hands. They were furious at that. Why? Because they were the kind of people that made a lot of money because they made the idols. Do you know what the Bible called them? Acts chapter 19, verse 24. For a certain man named Demetrius, a silversmith, which made silver shrines for Diana, brought no small gain unto the craftsmen. This little clip here that you see below, that's from Blue Letter Bible. You can look this up if you want to. This would be from Strong's Concordance, which is the Greek words that underlie the translation of the King James. The word craftsman here is teknetes, or teknetes. The eta here is like a long A sound. I do remember that much from my Greek class in Bible college. But teknetes, that's the Greek word. The word for those who make the idols. They were the craftsmen. They were the tech people of the day. They were making things that people would fall down and worship, and they were making a lot of money. Think about, I have an Apple iPad. I used to have an iPhone, didn't like it. I have a Samsung Note phone. I like it because the little pen that goes with it, I make a lot of notes when I'm just going around. I like that. And so think about Apple and Samsung, Windows, Microsoft, Google. Think about these companies. Are they very pious and very good people who just want people to have good things in their hands and they just practically give them away at cost? Are you kidding me? They find the cheapest way to manufacture it, and then they sell millions of these around the world. I think the latest iPhone broke the record for how many sales it had in like the first week or something like that. It was absolutely incredible how much money these companies make, these craft companies make. It's insane how much money they make. Okay? But see, money is driving it. The love of money is what? The root of all evil. And I think money is driving this. I think power and control is driving it. And I think the modern day craftsmen who eventually will build the artificial intelligence, whatever it is, and give life to the image of the beast, I think that's the craftsmen of today. I think the link between the Bible's use of the word craft and craftsman, because of the word technology that we now use now to describe all of this here, I think there's a link in between those two. I think it's the Bible's way of saying, watch what they do. Watch what goes on in the technology world. Because we know that they are predicting that they will build an artificial intelligence machine or robot that will be smarter than mankind and have greater abilities than mankind. Hence, a God that will rule over us. Just this week, and I talked about this on Pastor Mike Online yesterday, that would be October the 28th. One of the tech company chiefs came out against the artificial intelligence that's being worked on now. He said, we need control. Because what we're doing is that we are going to build some sort of system and we're going to summon demons with it. That's what he said. Some of these guys know exactly what's going on. They're telling us things. piece by piece of where they're going with technology, the craft. And they're just preparing people. Get ready, because it will change the world. It's going to do it very, very quickly. Deuteronomy 27, verse 15. Let's go to the Old Testament. I know that the word techna in the Old Testament would not be there. It's Hebrew. But look at, this is why I like the King James. I don't read Greek. I don't read Hebrew. I have a Bible that has taken these unknown languages and translated, and there is a consistency. You see craft and craftsman in the Old Testament, craft and craftsman in the New Testament. There's a relationship there. They're mated together. Deuteronomy 27:15. Cursed be the man that maketh any graven or molten image, an abomination unto the Lord, the work of the hands of the craftsman, and putteth it in a secret place. And all the people shall answer and say, Amen. I just got done recording the Pure Bible Study for this week. It deals with blaspheming the tabernacle. And I use this same verse. They take an idol and putteth it in a secret place. The secret place in God's tabernacle is the most holy place. No one ever gets to go inside and look in there until Christ came and the veil was rent. But remember, back in Ezekiel chapter 8, they were doing abominable things in the sanctuary, in the most holy place. Manasseh reared up a standing image, an idol, a molten image. He stood up a molten image inside of the most holy place of the temple. And God got him for it. I mean, God busted him up for that. That polluted the secret place of God's temple. And God said, Cursed be anyone that take something that was made by the technology people, the craftsmen, and putteth it in a secret place. See, the heart is what holds all of our secrets, and no man, the Bible says the heart of man is desperately wicked and deceitful above all things. Who can know it? So watch this. See, we're making the transition here. They're going to build the AI. It's going to be a god. It's going to have super intelligence. It's going to have access to all this information that the NSA is compiling on you right now. It's going to know everything there is to know about you and follow you around. There's a TV show called Person of Interest. They're talking about that right now. The machine that this guy built is so intelligent that it's referred to as a god. And they built another one. Now we have two gods at war. That's where the series has progressed. But they're going to take this technology, this god, and putteth it in a secret place. They're going to put it inside of mankind, and mankind is going to have that God in his heart. You think about it. If you're born again, where does Jesus live right now? Right here. He's on the throne, the four-chamber heart. He's on the throne of God inside of your heart. The opposite is going to take place. The man of sin is going to be in the temple of God, and I think the craftsmen are building this image right now. That's what technology is. Ezekiel 7:22. My face will I turn also from them, and they shall pollute my secret place, for the robbers shall enter into it and defile it. There it is. So we're going to ask this question again from Ray Kurzweil. Does God exist? Well, I would say not yet. We know that, and this is the plan. Ray Kurzweil does not believe in a God right now. But he realizes that the way technology is going is that mankind is going to create some sort of artificial intelligence machine that is going to have the powers of a God, because it will have access to every piece of information that's in the world. There is, you got to see this. I saw this in a YouTube video. There was a book written in 1909. It was called The Machine. It was written by a man by the name of E.M. Forster. I saw this in a YouTube video about artificial intelligence and where it came from. It was like given like the history of robots, where it came from, where it's going. And they said you can trace this all the way back to what this guy said back in 1909. Listen to what the reference was to the machine. Remember, the early 1900s was sort of the rise of what they call the industrial age, especially in the industrialized world, England, France, and a lot of places in Europe, the United States of America, even in Russia. people were inventing things that had never been seen before. We went from, in the 1800s, from shooting a gun that you had to load everything in by hand and hope that you didn't get shot by the other guy. We went from that to some of these rifles that boom, boom. Then we went to all of that came about from the 1800s into the 1900s. The Wright brothers were learning how to fly through the air. We're sending telegraph signals across the country on wires never heard of before. Railroads are running people all over the world at speeds that were unheard of at the time. Plants and factories. Henry Ford is about ready to, I don't know exactly when he did what he did, but Henry Ford is about ready to start mass producing automobiles for everybody to drive around in. We are looking at the peak of the Industrial Revolution in the early 1900s. And here's what this guy wrote. He said, "The machine feeds us and clothes us and houses us. Through it, we speak to one another. Through it, we see one another. In it, we have our being. The machine is the friend of ideas and the enemy of superstition. The machine is omnipotent, eternal. Blessed is the machine." And he was writing this of the technology that existed in his day, but he was probably already foreseeing that increase in technology. By 1909, you have the typewriter. You have a machine that is controlled by man that can do in a rapid way what it would take maybe weeks to do. That is printing a book or printing a piece of paper or something like that. Typewriters turning into the early terminals that were put in the supercomputers in the 1950s, 1960s, and now everybody has a typewriter in their cell phone, in their iPad, on their computer. And who buys electric typewriters anymore? Nobody does, because we print them out. You see the progression here. We're seeing the seeds in the early 1900s of the rise of the craft technology. I mentioned this show earlier, Person of Interest. You're being watched. And basically, the guy there on the right with the glasses, he invented what he calls the machine. And the machine sees everything. It hears everything. It knows and is learning everything that can be known. And there is a benevolent God in this series, one that is watching over mankind because that's what it was programmed to do. And then there is a malevolent God in this thing that rose up, and the two gods are fighting one another. Incidentally, the benevolent God in this series is referred to as she. Goddess. Think about it. Mystery Babylon the Great, the mother of harlots. But that's the concept, is that the machine has become a god. That was prophesied back in 1909, and it's coming to fruition today. Here is culture theorist Paul Virilio in an interview called Cyber War, God and Television from 1994. This is basically Windows 3.1 time. He said, all technologies converge toward the same spot. They all lead to a deus ex machina, a machine god. In a way, technologies have negated the transcendental God in order to invent the machine God. Remember, 1994, Windows 3.1. You remember that? Okay. You have the Macintosh computer, and some people are Mac, some people are Windows. I remember going to, Circuit City, Best Buy, Walmart, something like that, and setting my eyes upon the first personal computer I'd ever wanted in my life. I was a Commodore guy back in the 80s. But now I see this machine, Windows 3.1. I've never seen anything like this before. I watched the demo of the first 3D game, Castle Wolfenstein, and I just stared at that thing. That's absolutely incredible. Now I have Castle Wolfenstein on my iPad. It takes about this much memory and this much programming space on my iPad to run it. That's how far we've gone. But this was written 1994 in that time. And they were talking about replacing the transcendental God, which is the God that every religion believes in. It's some sort of transcendental God, a God that is higher than man and cannot be seen, to a God that is near to us, that we invented, the machine God. And it uses the phrase Deus ex machina, the God that comes out of the machine. There is a video game called Deus Ex. It was taken from this phrase, the God that comes out of the machine. I've not played this game. To be honest with you, I would like to play this game. That's just my flesh. I would like something like that. I'll let you in on a little secret. I don't play Xboxes. I don't play PlayStations. I don't play Nintendos. I like PC computer-based games. You know why? Because most all of them come with a God mode. You enter in a code, and now you can walk through the scenario of the game and never be killed. That's the way I like to play them. I hate being killed. I hate having to repeat it over and over and over again. I just want to play it. I want to see the graphics. I want to see what comes up. Okay? And it's been a long time since I played a game. But that's just me. It's inherent in our nature, in our rotten, corrupt nature. When I play video games, I want to not be killed. It's in us, people. It's in us. We have this flesh, wicked desire to never die and to do all these things without being killed. So now here we have a computer game called Deus Ex. It comes from Deus Ex Machina, the God out of the machine. And from what I read, this game is full of these augmentations that you can put into your body that give you special powers. We're walking in that direction. We're going to create the God first. Then we're going to let the God augment us. We're going to let the God mark us. Now I'm going to show you another video. I'm not going to play the video. You can watch this. This is one of those TED Talks. If you don't know what that is, don't worry about it. But these TED Talks, they usually put on a guy or a woman, 15, 20 minutes, and they're going to talk about some of the amazing things that are being invented and done right now. And I watch these things, and I am absolutely stunned. One guy talked about inventing a high-speed camera that was so fast that it was able to show you the individual photons of light that as it went through a room. Unbelievable. Where does technology like that come from? Remember, last week we talked about, I think it's inspired. Definitely. This guy here, Kevin Kelly, he has a video called The Next 5,000 Days of the Web. He based it upon the previous 5,000 days of the web. He said, here we come, the 1990s, 94, 95, somewhere around in there. We have, I think it was 93, 94, because by the time you have Windows 95 was able to link into the internet. Windows 3.1, you had a problem with it. You had to do all kinds of funny things with it. But anyway, he said, now we have the World Wide Web. He said, from like the 1994, somewhere around in there, to now, that was the first 5,000 days of the web. And when the World Wide Web, WWW, that's what it stands for. It's a web. Why did they call it a web? Because you have these woven networking cables that link everything together. A spider's web, you see, is connected to different places, and every strand is connected to every other strand inside the spider's web. And what does the spider use his web for? To capture and to kill. So he says the first 5,000 days of the web, everybody envisioned that the World Wide Web would basically be the next phase of television. It would be an enhancement to you watching television. And he said, boy, were they wrong. That's what we figured out in the first 5,000 days. He said, let me tell you what the next 5,000 days are probably going to bring as far as the World Wide Web is concerned. Remember, this device right here comes already able to link to the World Wide Web. This one here, I don't even need Wi-Fi. I have an account. with a cell phone company. I pay them every month, and this thing is always connected to the web. And I ask questions, I get information, that's what I do. He said, watch this, because everything now is going to be controlled by the web. And listen how, you can go watch this video, listen to how he described it. He said there is only one machine. It's the one. The web is its OS, or operating system. All screens look into the one. No bits, which means no pieces of information, will live outside the web. To share is to gain. Let the one read it. The one is us. We are in the one. Dun, dun, dun. Think about it. Is he right? I absolutely think he is. This guy is forecasting what's going to happen based upon the trends that are going on right now. You've heard of cloud computing? You know what that is? It's basically all the data and the programs and everything else stored in the web, accessible by the web. Instead of it being locally stored on your device, it's stored in the cloud. Cloud computing is taking over everything. I think he's right. All screens look into the one. They're looking into the web. He's seeing the web as a singular entity, a divine being. There's only one machine. The one is us. We are in the one. That's coming in the next 5,000 days of the World Wide Web. So just out of curiosity, I looked to see if the word web was in the King James Bible anywhere. Guess what I found? Job 8:13. So are the paths of all that forget God, and the hypocrite's hope shall perish, whose hope shall be cut off, and whose trust shall be a spider's web. Think about it. By the way, spiders have how many legs? Okay, think about it. The spider's web. Their trust is in the spider's web. You know what people are doing? They're putting their confidence and their trust in their machine. They're giving the machine all of their private information, their bank account records, everything. We do our banking now by way of the machine, cloud banking, PayPal, your bank. Your bank now is on the World Wide Web. Your bank has a website. You can do things at your bank without going to your bank. You're trusting. They're teaching you how to trust the web, the spider's web. Payment systems, ISIS. Think about that. All of these systems that are gaining popularity right now, they're teaching mankind to trust the web. Here's another one, Isaiah 59:4. Look at it. None calleth for justice, nor any pleadeth for truth. They trust in vanity and speak lies. Stop right here. If it's on the internet, it's got to be true, right? Because it's on the internet, right? Where'd you hear that? Well, the internet. People put up stuff on Facebook and YouTube videos that I'm just going, that is the dumbest thing I've ever seen in my life. Who would believe some kind of nonsense like that? Well, obviously the people who posted it. Whew. Anyway, if it's on the internet, I don't know that I'd believe it. I think I'd try it out first. All right, anyway. They trust in vanity, speak lies, they conceive mischief, and bring forth iniquity. They hatch cockatrice's eggs, which is a serpent, and weave the spider's web. He that eateth of their eggs dieth, and that which is crushed breaketh out into a viper. Their webs shall not become garments, neither shall they cover themselves with their works. Their works are works of iniquity, and the act of violence is in their hands. And I'm telling you, that describes the World Wide Web very, very to a T. It describes it very accurately. People are putting their trust in the web. And it's full of mischief and it's full of iniquity. You can find out. I was watching Cops the other day, and this guy was talking about how he'd never seen a rolling methamphetamine lab. They usually cook methamphetamine out of the trunk of their car. And the guy said, how does a guy figure out how to do all this? How does a flunky figure out how to do all this? They said it's all on the internet. You can get all the ingredients. You can find out how to do it, how to put it together. All that stuff's on the internet. I knew we were in trouble back 1994, 1995. Seeing things on the internet like how to make a cat bomb. I'll never forget that one. I'm not going to go into it. Okay? But I'm looking at that going, I don't know if this web thing's going to be what everybody thinks it's going to be. But basically, a web is a trap. That's what the spider's web is all about. It's to trap little bugs as they fly through the air so the spider can go and kill them and eat them. It's the same trap, people. Same trap. Now, I've been telling you, there's a connection with the Kabbalah. Kabbalah, I'm discovering the Kabbalah is probably the most dangerous religious philosophy in the world. It certainly is the most complicated one. I have a very hard time understanding the Kabbalah. Probably because they persist in using Hebrew words. I have no idea what they mean. Okay? I can read Morals and Dogma now, and I can figure out most things that are in this book. When it comes to the Kabbalah, I don't get it. So I spent some time just studying this thing. I saw this probably a year or two ago, and I thought it was interesting. I just kind of put it in my mind, put it in my notes, and forgot about it. And then doing the research on this, I remembered. There was something in the Kabbalah, Jewish mysticism, that the Kabbalah was about, if you were a really good student of the Kabbalah. Now I'll kind of explain this as we go, and if you're really good at it, and you study the Kabbalah, and you know all of these things, there's a possibility that through understanding and doing the practices and the rituals of the Kabbalah, you could build an image and give life to it. Just like in Revelation 13, just like the machine that we are creating right now. I'm convinced that science, falsely so called, the way Paul said it, that scientists right now, physicists, biologists, evolutionary theorists, people like that, they all pride themselves on the fact that they don't believe in God. They believe in science. No God in this anywhere. It's all laws of physics and science and things like that. Evolution. They pride themselves on not believing in God. The thing is, here's what I'm finding out. All of their theories came from a religion. The Big Bang Theory, that everybody now accepts who doesn't believe the Bible, that wasn't invented by a theoretical physicist. It came from the Kabbalah. The Kabbalah teachers, these rabbis, had the concept of the Big Bang years, decades, maybe even centuries before Darwin, before the first theoretical physicist ever tried to grasp the origin of the universe as a Big Bang, that it was this molten, dense thing that exploded, and within a few milliseconds, all the laws of physics came into being, and it scattered out all over the place. And so that every place in the universe has a little piece of what was the source. That's the Kabbalah teaching right there. So then I remembered that the Kabbalah actually teaches how to make an image that has life and can speak. It's called the Protector of the Jews. It was made popular in Prague back in the 1500s, I believe. I first learned about this as a young man. I just loved science fiction and science fiction movies, and I would check out books from the library that dealt with science fiction movies. There was a science fiction movie that came out. It's one of these early films that was made. There's only there were 6 of them made. There's only 2 of them left that they can find. But it was about a creature called the Golem. Now, that's not the Gollum of Lord of the Rings. This is something different. Let's go through this, and I'm going to explain to you what the Golem is. All right? Take a look at this. This is a book called the Sefer Yetzirah. I want you to notice the symbol that's on the front. It basically is the Kabbalah teaching of the tree of life. This is supposed to represent the tree of life. And there are 72 rays that are popping out of this thing. We'll see why in a little bit. It's called the Book of Creations. It was made up somewhere between the 3rd and 6th century. They're not exactly sure of exactly when it came out. But it's called the Book of Creations. It was believed by those who studied the Sefer Yetzirah that by proclaiming what they called the Shem, or the sacred name of God, or the Shem Hem Foresh, we've studied that before, sacred name stuff. You pronounce the Yod He Vah He in a certain right way, then God, you'll invoke God and He'll bless you and He'll save you. But if you don't say it that way, well, you're just doomed. You're not really a Christian. You're not really saved. That's sacred name. I did a video on that called Sacred Name or Witchcraft. Made some people mad at me. They called. They didn't like the fact that I told their dirty little secret. But sacred nameism, Shemism, Shem Hem Foresh, it's witchcraft. It's the idea that you can have creative abilities with your mouth, like Joel Osteen, Joyce Myers, and others teach. That you can say the right words with the right force, witchcraft, and create things, create wealth, create health, create a good-looking wife, or good-looking mistresses that you can go to and never get caught. You can do all those things with your mouth. It's witchcraft is what it is. But anyway, you pronounce the Shem, the sacred name. You could create a living creature from the dust of the earth. Think of iron or silicon. It's the dust of the earth. Okay? This creature was called the golem. It was the first ever automaton. Automaton means we use the word automatic. All right? Soda machines. I like the ones where you put the dollar bill in and you see the shelves of Pepsi and Diet Pepsi and Coke Zero. I like Coke Zero. And the machine goes and it puts the soda in there, goes. That's an automatic thing. It's an automaton. In this case, the golem. Then we're going back hundreds of years. The golem, you pronounced words, it would form out of the dust of the earth. Think about it. It would form out of the dust of the earth, and then you could say the sacred name. There's variations of this. You took a sacred name of Yod He Vah He, you wrote it on something, you put it on the forehead of the golem, and he would come to life, and if he got out of hand, you wanted to kill him, you could erase one of the letters, and it would say the Hebrew word meth or something like that. That means death or whatever. I don't remember all this stuff. It's complicated, I'm telling you. I'm trying to give you the surface level ideas. But here is an image. Look to the left here. This is one of the images of the golem. He's made out of dirt. He is man-made, and he has been given life. I saw this and I went, there's a movie coming out called Big Hero 6. It's about an inflated robot invented by some kid that he wants to become a superhero. And his number is number 6. And he looks like the golem. Is it a just chance? I don't know. I haven't seen the movie yet. Here is the science fiction movie. This is one of the silent film. This is from the silent film era. And you have to, this era here, since they couldn't use dialogue, they had to really hone their acting skills so that you could understand everything that's going on without the dialogue. But the golem films were made. The golem was the protector of the Jews in Prague. That's what the concept was. It was made out of the dust of the earth, and it had the sacred name in it that gave it life, and that life could be taken away. It was called the golem. Wait till you find out where they got that word from. They got it from here. The Hebrew of the Old Testament, they got it. Guess where they found it? Let me read this from Wikipedia. In the Talmud, Adam was initially created as a golem. There's the Hebrew word there in case you study Hebrew. when his dust was kneaded into a shapeless husk. That's what the word golem means. Hang on. Like Adam, all golems are created from mud. Think of silicon, think of the dust of the earth. They were a creation of those who were very holy and close to God. In other words, they were a creation of man, not God. A very holy person was one who strove to approach God, and in that pursuit would gain some of God's wisdom and power, hence the Kabbalah. One of these powers was here we go, the creation of life. However, no matter how holy a person became, a being created by that person would be but a shadow of one created by God. And so we have this idea that in the Kabbalah, in Jewish mysticism, back before any robots were ever made, there was the religious idea that something can be made out of the elements that are in the earth, and that a ritual could be performed, or meditation could be done, or things could be said, the sacred name, and that being would come to life. But it was called the golem because before that, it didn't have any life. It was not quite perfect yet. I'm giving you little clues as to where this word golem is in the Hebrew Old Testament. It wasn't perfect yet, but it was going to be. Whew. Now, when I saw what I'm going to show you now, the relationship that this idea of the golem, the first ever automatic man-made thing, has with artificial intelligence, robotics, and mankind creating an artificial intelligence that is so advanced that it will be a god. When I'm going to show you this. There was a conference, an AI conference, artificial intelligence conference, somewhere over in Eastern Europe. This was the keynote address. Beyond AI, Artificial Golem Intelligence 2013. Now, I watched some of the videos from here, and they kind of give that's where I got some of the quotes about the machine and so on. And they talk about the history of robotics. There's a video on there it's supposed to be about the relationship of the golem, this thing created by man and given life, and artificial intelligence, but it ends up being one of the most boring technology videos I've ever seen in my life. I didn't really see that they were explaining an awful lot, but they were making the connection. There is a connection between this Kabbalah golem, man-made creature that comes to life, and the technology, the craft that's being done right now. So here's what we're going to do. I'm going to show you something from the King James Bible. The word golem is only found one time in the Hebrew Old Testament. It's not found anywhere else. There's only one place in one verse that it is. When I read this, those of you who are familiar with our ministry and so on, you're going to go, wow. Because remember, they've got these little robots right now, but they're not done. They don't really do a whole lot. But they're going to. How will they do it? You got to have the right programming. You got to have the right code in order to make these robots and these artificial machines as intelligent as human beings. It's going to be all about the code that they write. Are you catching it? Here's where the one place where the word golem is found in the Bible, Hebrew Old Testament. Psalm 139:16. Thine eyes did see my substance, yet being unperfect, and in thy book all my members were written, which in continuance were fashioned, when as yet there was none of them. I'm going to go ahead and show you the next slide here. This is from Blue Letter Bible, and you can see it has the English KJV on the left, and it has the Hebrew on the right there, Strong's Concordance. Thine eyes did see my substance, yet being unperfect. That's what the word golem means. It's not perfect yet. But we're looking at artificial intelligence, we're looking at robots, and we're saying these things are going to evolve. We're going to make them better and better and be able to do more. While they can only do a very limited amount of things right now, we're writing the code that's going to expand their horizons and make them do far more than what we can do now. Let's go back now and look at Psalm 139:16 again, because we know, I've used this verse probably in 90% of the Watchman broadcast and Pastor Mike online. Why? Because it's significant. Because it talks about DNA being a book, a code, codex. That's what the word codex means. It means a book. DNA is a code, genetic code. Even when we didn't have, let's read it. Thine eyes did see my substance, yet being golem, unperfect. And in thy book all my members were written, which in continuance were fashioned, when as yet there was none of them. My genetic code, even before I had arms and legs and a mouth that never stops, before I had all of that, it was already written out in the code, the codex, the DNA book. And so God sees me as being yet unperfect, but He knows, because He wrote the book, the code, He knows what's going to happen. Are you catching this? These Kabbalists took this one place in the Bible. I think the devil led them right to it. Call this thing the unperfect thing, but it's got potential. Call it the golem. Because one of these days, mankind is going to write a new set of instructions, a new code for these artificial intelligence machines. And He's going to create a God who will be the protector of everybody. Think of iRobot. Vicky, the mainframe computer that had artificial intelligence, she decided that the best way to save humanity was to just take over and control humanity and to be the protector of mankind. Science fiction? I don't think so. Not when you believe the Bible. Not when you see it. When you see the technology that's coming out and you believe the Bible, you understand that mankind is creating a God. Right now, it's just a golem. But as they continue to write code, as they continue to write the DNA of this machine, they're going to work on it until this machine becomes a God. Now, take a look at this, okay? We've talked about this before, the Sephiroth, the Kabbalah tree of life. The idea is that the golem represents the image of the beast. It's unperfect, and it has no life. It doesn't have any real substance yet. It's just standing there like the statue of the Virgin Mary. Why people bow down to that thing, I have no idea. But it has no substance, doesn't have any life. It has to be given life. It has to be given the code of life. It is said that in order to create the golem, one must meditate, concentrate, formulate, dictate, whatever, the ideas that are in the Sephiroth, or the tree of life. Take a look at it. You have the 10 circles, represent the 10 emanations between God and Adam Kadmon, or God and the earth. There are 10 degrees of separation between God and the earth. These 10 circles are the 10 horns that are on the beast in Revelation 7. Take a look at that. They're also the 10 toes of the image that Nebuchadnezzar saw back in Daniel chapter 2. And then the 22 paths that connect all of the circles. See, I told you it's complicated. I'm trying to make it as simple as you can. You have the 10 divine beings, the 10 circles, the 10 toes, the 10 horns of the beast, and then you have the 22 paths, each one representative of a Hebrew letter. There are 22 letters in the Hebrew Aleph Beth. That's what you would call it, I guess. So the 22 paths are the 22 letters of the Hebrew Aleph Beth, and the circles are the 10 kings, the 10 horns, the 10 toes, and they get connected together by the tree of life, by the Sephiroth. And when you meditate on this, you can then create the golem. I'm telling you, the Kabbalah seems to me to be the preeminent religious idea that is thrusting mankind toward the new world order. and it's the religion of Judaism. Where did they learn it from? They learned it from all the wackos back in Canaan and Babylon and Sumeria and everywhere. God told them not to learn it, but that's what they did. So the idea is the 10 kings plus the 22 letters, or let's say the 22 amino acids that the book of DNA was written in. Think about it. Those, the seed of men, 22 amino acids, DNA, with the 10 toes, the iron kingdom, fused together. That's the concept that you use to create the golem. And then you have to give it life. So you have to pronounce the Shem Ham Forash. And I'm not going to get into that. I've dealt with that in an earlier Watchman broadcast. Sacred Name of Witchcraft, I think, was one of them. But that name has 72 letters in it. It's a 72-letter name of God that is called the ineffable name, which means it cannot or should not be pronounced. Because if you pronounce it, then you have creative powers. You give life to the image. It's nothing more than creation by way of witchcraft, which Joel Osteen, Joyce Myers, and all these others say that you automatically have. You have the power to create things with your mouth if you say them the right way with the force of faith. That's what they call it, the force of faith. You know what that is? Earth, air, fire, and water. The 4 directions, the 4 seasons, principalities, powers, rulers of darkness, spiritual wickedness in high places. That's what it's all about. And I want you to remember that number, because they use the Yod, He, Va, He as part of this. They call it the tetra, meaning 4, grammaton, which means grammar magic by way of the 4 letters. Yod, He, Va, He. The 72. The number 72, there it is in that symbol there. That was the cover of the book, the Sefer Yetzirah, the book of creations. You see the 72 rays coming out of the divine circle. Manly Hall says that there are 72 stones in the building of the unfinished pyramid. Now, if you're looking at the one on the back of the dollar bill, good luck counting 72 of them. There is another official version of it, and I'm not sure where Manly Hall got his idea, but I think he's dead on with the concept. The 72 stones, the building blocks that make up the unfinished pyramid with the all-seeing eye. Think of the 72 emanations, or the 72 rays there in the Kabbalah, the ineffable name, being joined. That's humanity. Why? Genesis 10. There is listed for you the sons of Noah, Shem, Ham, and Japheth. And there happens to be 72 individual families that God divided the nations in. God scattered the 72 all over the earth. So here's the concept. Because you're going to build this temple of the Antichrist, the pyramid, you're going to bring the 72 back together and set them in order so that you can have the divinity, the eye of Horus, the all-seeing eye. You can have the Antichrist join with it in the last days. That's what that is. And that's what the golem represents, because you say the 72 letter Shem Ham Forash, that gives this golem life. So I want you to, let's apply this now to this being, this creature, or technology. Mankind is going to build, all of mankind is working together on this. They're going to build the image, and the false prophet is going to give it life, the pronunciation of some sacred word or some secret thing or something like that. Think of the word. Think of the seed that is the Bible. Think of the programs that these guys are writing as a code, as a genetic code. Something, I don't have it all, I don't understand it all yet. Something that's related to what Fat Albert Pike calls the lost word, or the Masonic secret word. Dan Brown wrote about it in, I haven't talked about him in a while, the lost symbol. Basically, the lost word of Freemasonry, a code is what's going to give life unto the image of the beast. Here is something that Fat Albert Pike said about the ineffable name of the deity. The true word of a Mason is to be found in the concealed and profound meaning of the ineffable name of deity, communicated by God to Moses, and which meaning was long lost by the very precautions taken to conceal it. Again, that's a quote from Fat Albert Pike, Morals and Dogma. Here's a graphic of it. It's known as the Tetragrammaton. It is the Yod, He, Va, He that is written all throughout the Old Testament of the Scriptures, that is properly interpreted and translated as Lord. Your King James Bible is right, because every place that Yod He Vah He was found in the Hebrew text, the translators wrote the word capital L, capital O, capital R, capital D. Now, the Hebrew roots people and the sacred name people say, see, they took out the secret name of God. They buried it. They're calling God Baal because that's what Lord means, the Baal. No. Do your own study. Every place in the New Testament where a quotation is made of an Old Testament verse with the Yod He Vah He in it, every New Testament writer, Matthew, Mark, Luke, John, Paul, Peter, James, Jude, they all wrote the word Lord. The translators of the King James did not change the name of the Lord when they saw Yod He Vah He. They followed the instructions of the apostles, and Jesus himself, who when he quoted Old Testament scripture with that in it, he said it was Lord. I trust Jesus and the apostles more than I trust all these other people out there who are trying to lock you into law-keeping and using a sacred witchcraft name that you must use to invoke God. But anyway, that's what Fat Albert Pike says, was that the ineffable name of God was essentially the sacred word or the lost word of Freemasonry. Manly Hall says this: by placing the 4 letters of the Tetragrammaton in a vertical column, I'm going to show you what this is in a minute, a figure closely resembling the human body is produced, with Yod for the head, the first He for the arms and shoulders, Vau for the trunk of the body, and the final He for the hips and legs. This again is from Manly Hall, Secret Teachings of All Ages. Here's what it looks like. And notice that it's called the Adam Kadmon, which is nothing more than the beast that was scattered all over the earth, formed from the Pentagrammaton and representing Jesus. They have a Pentagrammaton because they add the Hebrew letter Shin in the middle, which goes from, they say Yahweh to Yahshua, or Jesus. Okay? But anyway, here's the idea. And I've seen this. I have seen this on Hebrew roots and sacred name websites, where they take the Yod He Vah He and they say, you stack them up like that and it makes the figure of a man. You know what the teaching is behind that? That man creates God, and this God is going to make man into God. That's the teaching behind it. It doesn't come from science. It comes from the Kabbalah. The Jews who study the Kabbalah use what's called gematria. I don't. I see no place in the Bible that tells me individual letters are numbers. I see it nowhere in the Scriptures. But the Jews, they're big on it. They're big on gematria. So are the Hebrew roots people, so are the sacred name people. They take the Hebrew letters and they say each letter is a number. Here's the problem. And what they like to do is they like to take a Hebrew word, add up the numbers of that word, and then relate it to other words in the Hebrew Old Testament that have the same number. Here's my problem with it. I found out, let me make sure I get this right, that the Hebrew word for Messiah, the Hebrew letters added together, has the exact same number as the Hebrew word for serpent, nachash. And one guy, I saw a YouTube video of him, he was teaching that, you know what that means? that the Christians have the wrong Messiah. By use of gematria, he had determined that the Messiah was supposed to be the serpent and not Jesus Christ. See what you can do when you step outside of the bounds of the Bible. But here's what they do. The Hebrews, they applied gematria, which is basically numerology, witchcraft. They take that, each individual, like the Aleph would be number 1, Beth would be number 2, and so on, all the way through the number 22. They take individual words like the Yod, He, Va, He. They add up the numerical values, which is 10, 15, 21, and 26. That equals 72. You see what they're teaching here? And notice that it's in the pyramid there. They're trying to teach you the concept that God is in you already. The real God is in you already. No, He's not. Not if you're not saved. You have a different God on the inside of you, what Paul referred to as no good thing. It's corrupt on the inside. But basically that number 72 points us to all of the nations of the world. And they're saying that that is where God is going to come from. So I want you to follow this, okay? The idea is, and I know I'm trying to make this as simple as possible so you can understand. The idea is, man's going to create this artificial intelligence just like the Jews would create the golem, and they're going to give it life. The Jews would then give the golem life by using the name of God Himself. Yod, He, Va, He. You know what that is? You know what they're doing? They're actually breaking and violating the third commandment. Psalm 139, verse 19. Surely thou wilt slay the wicked, O God. Depart from me, therefore, ye bloody men. For they speak against thee wickedly, and thine enemies take thy name in vain. Psalm 139 is about how we are curiously and wondrously made, and it's about DNA, the book that all my members were written in. And then later on, in verse 19 and 20, it says, your enemies take thy name in vain. Exodus 20, verse 7, thou shalt not take the name of the Lord thy God in vain, for the Lord will not hold him guiltless that taketh his name in vain. Do you see what they're doing? You see what the sacred name people and the Hebrew roots people and the Kabbalists, you see what they're doing? They take this golem, make him out of dirt, silicon, sand of the earth, sand of the sea, or whatever. They make this golem, this lifeless thing, this machine, and they take the holy name of God and put it on that. They have taken the name of the Lord their God, capital L, capital O, capital R, capital D. That's what it says right there in Exodus 20. They took the tetragrammaton, the Yod, He, Va, He, and they used it in vain. They committed blasphemy because they took the name of God and they spoke it to their lifeless image to make it have life. That's what they do with the golem. That's something about that. That's what they're going to do with the machine God that man is building right now. Think about what we learn about the beast in Revelation chapter 13, verse 1. I stood upon the sand of the sea and saw a beast rise up out of the sea, having 7 heads and 10 horns, and upon his horns 10 crowns, and upon his heads the name of blasphemy. Revelation 13:15. And he had power to give life unto the image of the beast, that the image of the beast should both speak and cause that as many as would not worship the image of the beast should be killed. John 20:31. Look at this. It's going to tie it all together now. But these are written that ye might believe that Jesus is the Christ, the Son of God, and that believing you might have life through His name. Do you see that? That you might have life through His name. This is why God didn't want the Israelites to use the name of God in vain, because God's name Jesus Christ. That's his name. Some of you people are going, that's who my God is. Jesus is the Son of the living God, and he is the Almighty God. He's the Holy One of Israel. I love him. I worship him. Amen. There is life in the name of Jesus, and that name was introduced to us in Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. See, the number 4 is the number for the gospel. It's the number for the spiritual realm, principalities, powers, rulers of darkness, spiritual wicked in high places. You have New Jerusalem, a city built how square? 4 square. Okay, I love it. How many books in the Bible introduce to us the name Jesus that gives us life? Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. Now I'm going to connect some things together for you. I want you to understand this, okay? And I hope I haven't made this too complicated for you, especially dealing with the Kabbalah. If you don't get it, join the crowd, all right? But I think I see in the Kabbalah the essence of this idea of Adam Kadmon, who is the beast. He's the Antichrist. God said he cut him in pieces. He scattered all over the earth. The idea is that they're going to gather everybody back together, I think, through the craft. Technology is going to cause craft to prosper in his hand, bringing everybody back together, giving them one mind through technology, fusing technology into his own body, thus the God that man created actually living inside of them and controlling them. I want you to think about it, because this is where we're going. The use of the Tetragrammaton, which has 4 letters in it. Let me show you a graphic here and see if I explain it this way. Here is a Rosicrucian graphic. You see the rose there in the middle of the cross. The rose conceals what? The thorns. So you have a cross, which you say, okay, that represents Christ, but think about it. All of our DNA is bundled in what? Crosses, X chromosomes. That's where all of our DNA is, all right? So back to this symbol. The Rosicrucian symbol basically has the Yod, He, Vah, He, the Tetragrammaton, the sacred name. They are using that as witchcraft to give life or everlasting life. Do you see the serpent biting his own tail? In the idea of symbology, the serpent biting his tail, the mouth of the serpent represents the female, the daughters of men. The tail represents the masculine, the sons of God. The serpent biting his tail, or the Ouroboros, is a symbol for immortality or everlasting life. And they're teaching you that it's going to come from the serpent. And it's going to be given to mankind by use of the sacred 4-letter word, Yod, He, Vah, He. So I want you to think about it. Remember, the cross represents the chromosome. Now look at the other side of this. Remember that DNA, oh, I like this. I love this. I talk about this all day long. DNA is a book. God said it was. Now, just a refresher course here. Here's a book that God wrote. It's called the Holy Bible. It's in his right hand. Sealed. I love it. Okay, rolled up like a scroll. This is your DNA. One strand is the Old Testament. The other strand is the New Testament. How are they joined together? They're joined together by 4 books called Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, or in your DNA, adenine, guanine, cytosine, and thymine. So the idea, so we have the 4 in our DNA, representing the 4 Gospels, representing Christ, the Gospel itself, representing everlasting life. The code is already there to give us eternal life through Jesus Christ our Lord. Their version of immortality is not going to come from Christ's death and resurrection on the cross. It's going to come through witchcraft, Kabbalah witchcraft, pronouncing the sacred 4-letter word. Now I'm going to make a connection here for you. Watch this, okay? Connection between the 4 letters, the name giving life, and artificial intelligence. Here we are. Take a look at this. Scientific American cover story. DNA computers, biological decision-making, molecular machines speak directly to cells. There's a conference called the International Conference on DNA Computing and Molecular Programming. Notice their symbol. Look at that. See the twisted spirals with the tools on the end of it? They're basically telling you that we are, mankind, the craft, is teaching itself. I think they're being inspired. Mankind is learning how to use his genetic code as a computer. And I promise you, they're going to alter the code so that mankind becomes a god. And we ask ourselves the question, if we tried to take our iPads and wire it up and stick wires into our body, would it work? Probably not, and it would hurt. Our concept of mixing technology, all of this computer stuff, in with our body, I have a hard time fathoming it because I don't understand how you can take cords. I don't see how you can put a USB port on the human body. Well, that's not what they're going to do. The technology that they're using right now is to basically take what we already have in us, our DNA, and turn that into the computer so that every cell in our body is a computerized connection port to the technology world, the computer world, the artificial intelligence, the machine God. I think that's how it's going to happen. Here's another one. Nanorobots that compute with DNA installed into a living cockroach. Take a look at it. Scientists have inserted DNA-based nanobots into a living cockroach, which are able to perform logical operations. Researchers say the nanobots could eventually be able to carry out complex programs to diagnose and treat disease. Taking DNA, making robots. That's what a nanobot is. A nano is something so tiny you can't even hardly see it, even with a microscope. They're creating minuscule, microscopic robots out of genetic code, DNA. Our own internal machine, injecting that into a cockroach, and the cockroach lived. But what do these nanobots do? They do whatever they're programmed to do. They're doing whatever the code tells them to do. These nanobots could diagnose and treat disease. Wow. You mean like AIDS? Oh yeah, AIDS. There's no doubt in my mind that AIDS research is right on the top of all of this. Basically, sin all you want to, and the disease that you can get from that sin, we're going to try to cure it so that you can continue to sin all you want to. That's what they're doing. They're turning sinful mortals into super sinful immortals. They're trying to break the curse that God has placed upon mankind because of his sin. So think about these DNA nano microscopic robots that have intelligence, and they're connected to the source, the one, the web, the God, the machine God, Deus ex machina. They're connected to that, and so literally the machine could live inside of every human being that there is. Unbelievable. Literally, I'm reading my notes here, literally the possibility of transforming one's entire body full of DNA into a computer by way of DNA alteration, making us part man, part machine. That was my favorite show back in the 70s, The $6 Million Man. Now it would be more like the $28 billion man. You have to figure in for inflation, okay? So watch this. Man is going to make the God, and the God is going to turn man into his image, a God. Psalm 115 nails it. Here's what's going to happen. Their idols are silver and gold, the work of men's hands. Think about it. Stop right here. Their idols were made by man. This image is being made by the craftsmen, the technology people, who do it for the money. Because once you have an iPad, when the first iPad came out, I got one. Okay? And I thought, this is like the most cool thing in the world. And I was constantly looking for new apps to put on there. I haven't put a new app on this thing in I don't know how long. You know why? Because I've just got accustomed to doing certain things on it and so on, and it's not really that big a deal anymore. Wait till they come out with the next big thing. Okay? And everybody's going to be going, here, you can have my iPad. Give me that one. Okay? It's the work of men's hands. Man is going to build this thing. Then watch this. They have mouths. Watch this. We're going to count. Think of the 7 heads of the beast. Think of the 7 nations mightier than the Israelites that God was going to let them conquer. Watch this. They have mouths, number 1, but they speak not. They have eyes, number 2, but they see not. They have ears, 3, but they hear not. Noses, 4 have they, but they smell not. They have hands, 5, but they handle not. Feet have they, 6, but they walk not. Neither speak they through their throat. 7. 7 things here. 7 heads of the beast, 7 nations mightier than mankind. Verse 8. They that make them are like unto them, so is every one that trusteth in them. Did you catch that? We're going to build the machine, God. And the machine, God, is going to connect into mankind, making him a God. And mankind is putting his trust in that machine God. We already are. We're being taught how to do it right now. We use our phones as a GPS. Tell me where to go. Siri, tell me where to go. I'm sorry, I can't do that. Anyway, we're using our phones as a GPS. We're using our phone. I saw something yesterday. I'm going, oh, that'd be cool. That'd be cool. I give that to my girls. They're having babies. Okay, it's a ultrasound wand, connects into your iPhone. You can use it to see the baby inside. You can sit at home and watch your baby. Unbelievable. But we're learning how to trust our technology. We want our GPS to be right to take us where we need to go. We want information brought to us instantaneously. I'm hearing a rumor now that the speeds of the internet are fixing to increase dramatically. And you're going, oh, that'd be so cool because I can like download the movies a lot quicker. I think some of the technology is being held back because the internet speed's too slow. So watch it. That's where we're going. You and I, born-again Christians, yeah, we use our tech. I'm using it right now to preach the gospel. At some point, I don't know what it's going to be, but at some point, I'm going to have to go, I'm done. I'm out. I'm off. Okay? I'm going dark. No more technology for me. I don't know when that's going to be. I'm going to trust God. But we're already on the road to trusting in this God that we're going to make. It's coming about in stages and levels. Can you imagine going back to 1850 and showing them your iPad? No way to explain it. No way to explain the World Wide Web. No way to explain all these things. We've had it come to us gradually so that we understand it, we don't fear it, we use it, and we're being drawn in more and more every day. So now, part 1 of the singularity is man making God in his image as far as a machine, artificial intelligence. Part 2 is the intelligence taking all of this technology, putting it into mankind, making him into an immortal, a God, just like the devil promised in Genesis chapter 3. And remember, your DNA can be turned into a computer. It's going to take the right program. It's going to take more code added to what's already there. Think about that, all right? Daniel chapter 2, they shall mingle themselves with the seed of men. That's where it's all going. That's where it all is. All right here according to the Word of God. The craftsmen building the idols, technology. Get ready. I don't know how fast. It's getting faster every day. At some point, it's going to be so fast, it's going to take over the whole world. I think they're going to say peace and safety then. That's what I think. Anyway, God bless you. I love you. I've enjoyed this study, and I hope you're enjoying it too. I hope it didn't make it too complicated today. But all of these ideas of technology, they're spiritual in nature. That's what I was trying to get across. God bless you. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.